What's going on, traders? Today we're going to cover any of the important things that we want to look out for this week, talking about important bank holidays, any important speakers, and high impact data that we need to pay attention to if we're going to be trading in the markets this week. Also, what is it going to impact? So with that being said, let's get right into it. Let's get started talking about any important bank holidays that we have coming out this week. When we pull this over, we can see that we have, let me just move this to the side. The first bank holiday that we have, and the only one this week for the U.S. markets, is we have a U.S. bank holiday, National Day of Mourning. So the markets, the banks will be closed on Thursday. This is something to be aware of because when there's a bank holiday, there's higher likelihood of choppy markets, consolidation, and just low volume. And sometimes low volume can actually give you a lot of fake outs. You end up taking something that looks like a good trade, but you end up getting stuck in consolidation because there's just not enough volume for whatever trade you're in to continue. So be careful if you're looking at the US markets, right? Things like gold, US 30, NASDAQ, and a lot of the US dollar pairs. This is something you're going to want to be aware of. And taking a look down here at any important speakers, Wednesday, January 8th, the Federal Reserve is going to release something called the FOMC meeting minutes. Now, the meeting minutes is just a recap of what they said at the last FOMC. For those who don't know, FOMC is the Federal Reserve's interest rate decision. So basically, it's sometimes a low probability that you're going to see any big moves in the markets when this is released. But if we can find something different, because once again, this is a recap. Sometimes there's something said in the meeting minutes that was not said during the actual FOMC meeting. So we try to look for hints there. Like what are the Feds going to do in terms of cutting more rates? What data are they looking at that's really important? Whether it's labor market data, inflation data, stuff like that, because this is how we can determine what the Feds are paying attention to in order to make their decisions for interest rates. And that's what tells us when we talk about the high impact data, this is what helps determine what data is important for the markets. This is how we know when the markets are going to react or not react to specific pieces of data, which right now, the labor market data is kind of top priority, as well as inflation data, which is CPI data or even PCE data. So those are going to be important. If you're wondering what this is going to impact, it's the US market. So if it does have an impact on anything, it'll be just like gold, US dollar pairs, US 30, NASDAQ, and if you trade SP 500, pretty good chance it'll impact that as well. Once again, that's if we get a reaction at all from this. On Thursday, following up with the speakers, Bank of England's Deputy Governor Breeden is going to give a speech on the outlook for inflation and monetary policy. Now, the times are going to be a little different for everybody. If I bring over my news terminal, I'll show you what time that is. If we take a look, this is Thursday. Come over to the events. Thursday, you can see right here, Bank of England Deputy Governor, it's 11 o'clock Eastern time, right? So your time zone might be a little different, but something to pay attention to. If you trade the Great British Pound currency pair, there might be something that they talk about in terms of cutting rates or not cutting rates that actually can impact the Great British Pound. So that's something that's worth paying attention to, depending on what currencies you trade. Following up on Thursday, January 9th, we also have a Federal Reserve speaker speaking on monetary policy. Now, this one, it's a little hard to know whether or not the markets will once again react to this. At the end of the day, it all depends on what's said. Do they say something important or do they say something that the markets already know? But if we take a look on Thursday, we can actually see Schmid speaks on economic and monetary policy before the Economic Club of Kansas City. Is it going to be important? Hard to say, but always worth paying attention to, right? Because it's a Federal Reserve speaker. I want to know what their stance is on monetary policy and if anything changes. These speeches are usually when we see a shift, if any at all. And once again, US markets, right? So gold, NASDAQ, US 30, US dollar pairs. I like trading gold and NASDAQ are two of my favorite things, but that doesn't mean you can't take trades on other US equities because interest rates and monetary policy has an impact on gold. It has an impact on US 30. It has an impact on the US dollar, right? Taking a look over at high impact data this week. Now, once again, we do have a holiday coming on Thursday, so no data on Thursday. Taking a look over at Tuesday, once again, Eastern time, but 10 a.m. Eastern, we have something coming out called US JOLTS job openings. Now, this piece of data is just a piece of data that tells us how many companies are looking to hire outside employment. So they're not looking to promote or hire within their own company. They need and want new people. This is important because this kind of gives us an indication of how strong the demand is for the labor market. If you increase the demand for the labor market, you increase wages for the labor market. If you increase wages, you increase inflation. So a strong labor market is inflationary. So this is something that we pay attention to. And you can see down here, US markets is going to impact the US dollar, gold, and US indices. Now, Joe's jobs opening isn't the most important piece of labor market data, but it still does cover the labor market. So it's worth paying attention to. On Wednesday, we have two pieces of labor market data. 8:15, which is 15 minutes after New York opened, and then 15 minutes after that, we have something called jobless claims. Now, jobless claims data usually comes out every Thursday of the week, but because we have a bank holiday on Thursday, we're actually seeing it come out on Wednesday. So be careful on Wednesday, because even if you do take anything or if you pay attention to this ADP employment, we need to be aware that there's data being released again 15 minutes later, right? Once again, US markets. So we're looking at US dollar, we're looking at gold, we're looking at US indices as far as what should be impacted when this data is released, right? Like I said, I like trading gold and NAS. That's what I'll be paying attention to. Friday, another important piece of data, probably the most important piece of data this week, is going to be US non-farm payrolls. A lot of people call this NFP. This is a measurement of workers in the labor market. There's going to be an impact, if at all, US dollar, gold, and indices. Now, I think the better opportunity, I'll do some actual analysis on this piece of data later in the week for you guys, but what I want to see is a weakening of labor market. I want to see a drop in ADP employment. I want to see an increase in jobless claims. I want to see a drop in non-farm payrolls, because for me, that's going to follow my bias on all these pieces of data, meaning I'm still looking for gold buys. I'm still bullish on NAS, and I'm still bearish in the dollar, even though the dollar has been seeing some upside and some pullbacks from its lows. Fundamentally, it still makes sense to be bearish on it. We'll see what the week brings when this data comes out. Those are some of the main things that I'm going to be looking for in order to find opportunities in the markets, right? Because if you're trading and don't at least know that some of this stuff is happening or coming out, for example, a bank holiday, it might confuse you why you might get stuck with consolidation. Or if you don't know that data is coming out, it might screw you up if you get taken out of a trade, even though you were in the right direction, but the timing was off. So make sure, or at least I like to make sure, that I'm paying attention to this stuff while I'm looking for trades, because taking trades around some of this stuff without being aware of it can really just increase the risk of some of the trades that you're taking. Good luck trading this week. I'll see you guys in the next video.